Hello and welcome to Enter the Light, powered by Podbean and possibly tequila, donuts, and coffee cake. You just never know around here. We're going to have a special guest on today. I'm waiting for my co host to show up, and we're going to have a great time today. We have, let's see, her name here is Claire Candy Hough. So she's a two-time Amazon International best-selling author, radio and TV host, Reiki master teacher, and inspirational speaker. Following her angelic walk-in experience in January 2003, she created her business, Angel Healing House, and she will be helping others connect to their divine eternal nature. So be sure to welcome her. She is now. How are you, Claire? And welcome to the show.
I'm very well. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, I'm so happy to. We love to get to know other light workers, and you're quite a dynamic one from what we were reading.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, as soon as I walked in, 3 months later after I walked in, I created my Angel Healing House healing practice and went about establishing communities of light around the world in order for people to remember their divine eternal natures.
Oh, that is wonderful. Everyone should remember that. What a wonderful world we would have if everyone understood that, right?
Well, that's everything comes from that. It's inherent in our divine birthright for each one of us, um, but we have come back to try to transcend that in a world of duality, which gets us always to look outside of ourselves instead of turning the mirror back on ourselves to see the inherent beauty and all the wisdom and knowledge that we will ever need because we are divine reflections of God's source creator. And that's the first place we should look if we have any queries at all.
Indeed. Well, I'd like you to meet Tony Jorgensen and Lynn Bleasdale, my co-hosts, who are also happy to have you on.
Hi.
Lovely. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I always say nice to meet you again because
Yeah.
if we're meeting in this incarnation, oh, I'm just getting shivers all over. If we're meeting in this incarnation, it means we've had the pleasure of meeting each other in previous incarnations.
Yeah. I just got chills too. That's awesome.
I love it.
Yes, so it's lovely to be here and to share information about who walk-ins are. You know, there's a great deal of misinformation from those who haven't had the experience, just like those who speak about twin flames, yet haven't been reunited with their own divine complement here on the earth plane. I've had both of these experiences, so I think it's important when speaking about walk-ins to start with a definition.
Okay.
Okay, so to start off with, a walk-in is a soul exchange contract. It's made between the higher self of a soul in a physical human body and a highly advanced spiritual soul across the veil. The reason for this happening is because the human soul often in is suffering and can't keep their life force energy going to keep them alive. This can come about because of debilitating illness, sometimes trauma induced by physical, mental, or emotional abuse, perpetuated deep emotional pain from childhood, low self-worth. It's just a general wish within the human body. They can't find the light, they want to end their suffering, and they want to exit their contract early that they wrote before incarnating. And that's exactly what happened to the former soul of Claire Candy, who was in this body. She was in a 26-year relationship, a 22-year controlling, abusive marriage, and she was so physically, mentally, and emotionally damaged and traumatized she basically lost her ability to keep any light going within herself, and she unconsciously asked God to help her to die. Now, we across the veil, angels and spirit guides, our spirit team, we know how vastly important it is for human beings to learn their lessons and invaluable teachings. And many times they come in the way of contrast, hardship, and adversity, so that we're challenged And in this way, the lessons really are memorable, because if the lessons came easy, we wouldn't learn anything. But when it comes to that stage where the earth soul cannot find their way out of that darkness, and they ask unconsciously to exit, a spiritually advanced soul across the veil will often come to them, hearing their pleas in their sleep state, of course, because they're not conscious enough to be aware of this. And they'll say, yes, you can end your suffering. You can return home to God with honors by allowing me to walk in, if you agree to this, and I will accept all the responsibilities for your life. So it's not like you just walk out of the house one day and don't accept the responsibilities. That's what a walk-in contracts to do. And a lot of times the soul is suffering so much that, the relationships are dishonoring, the jobs are dishonoring. Those choices are made because they're so hurt, abandoned, or traumatized, that everything around them is often very low vibrational frequency. And so when the walk-in comes in, they accept all the responsibilities to clean up that soul's life. Angel Ariel, who is in the body now, I spoke to Claire Candy's higher self for 2.5 years before she agreed to 100% soul exchange contract. Because it's one thing, everyone, if you ask somebody to do something in theory, but it's another thing to actually do it in the practical. And she said yes to this and to be released from her life suffering. Once this is established with 100% certainty by the soul in physical form, then an intersection episode is decided upon. It could be during a surgery. After a surgery, the person wakes up and somehow they're different. Could be during an accident, a near-death experience. In my case, it was during a deep meditation when, on January 11th of 2003, the former soul of Claire Candy contracted with her free will to walk out of the physical form, and I, Angel, walked in to take over and her responsibilities, and walked into Claire Candy's life. So that's a little bit about what happens with the beginning part of the walk-in. Now, I've been asked by many people, how do you know? Do you wake up and you suddenly know you're a walk-in? And this is not the case, because when one comes in from a higher dimensional frequency and then basically gets slammed into a lower dimensional frequency, and believe me, in 2003, it was a very different vibrational world back then. The process is actually blocked, because that's what happens when one comes from a higher reality with a 0 point energy or no measure of time, and then enters into the denser aspects of the physical dimension. Although you don't remember what happened to you, I didn't ever hear the term walk-in. You know that everything's different, and it feels like you've entered the wrong life. Now,
Mhm.
lots of people have asked me, so what did you experience? And with each walk-in is vastly different, yet they share oftentimes experiences that give them a clue that they've had this experience. People around them, family and friends, they sense that you're not acting like yourself. They tell you there's something different about you. The former soul of Claire Candy, she owned a coffee shop, and her customers actually commented to her in those weeks following that there was something different about her. She was so calm. She was so peaceful and happy. Uh, Oftentimes, walk-ins, they choose to change their names, as they just don't resonate with the former soul's name. The main reason I didn't change my name, I didn't call myself Angel Ariel, was because I took my responsibilities to the former soul very seriously. And I knew it would devastate her parents if I changed her name. But Strangely enough, I started using my birth name, Claire, in addition to Candy. The former soul was um, named Claire Candy. But before the walk-in experience, if anyone called me Claire, I would have said I hated that name. But with my clairvoyancy, the clairaudience, and the clairsentience, claircognizant channels opening rapidly, I loved and I started using both those names. And here we come. Here's my grandmother just came in. Her name is Grandmother Clara, who the former soul was named after. So she's made an appearance here. Anyway, the third thing that we may notice is many walk-ins will leave their partners, marriages, even long-standing relationships, because the former soul often was suffering with low self-worth, emotional trauma and despair. Um, they would have drawn to themselves relationships of lower frequency, negative energies, often filled with dishonor and disrespect. Being of a high energetic frequency, walk-ins with their clear, light-filled energies simply do not resonate with the energies associated with the former soul's choices. And many times they choose to distance themselves, as it simply doesn't feel good to be around such lower, disparate energies. Many times walk-ins are able to easily solve problems that were seemingly insurmountable for the former soul to improve their lives, get themselves out of negative situations. But there's a really good reason for that. As walk-ins, we retain the memory imprint of the former soul. It's sort of like a computer chip. So we remember to do things like feed the cat, call grandma for her birthday, or bake that cake that we promised to make for the PTA meeting, because the former soul's responsibilities will be addressed. But we do not inherit the emotional imprint of the former soul. And they're often filled with anger, resentment, regret, shame, judgment. We're no longer triggered and reactive, solely operating from emotions like hurt, abandonment, and blame. So we are easily to solve those problems, get rid of dishonoring relationships, jobs, things, and so we can create a positive, honorable life for us to get on with our mission to be of service to humanity. And let's see, another thing is that we are distinctly aware of a change in our personality, attitudes, and perceptions, a change in our tastes in foods, in clothing, in music. Okay, for instance, when I walked in, I was drawn to Scottish music, Celtic and Irish. It made me cry, and I didn't know why. This made perfect sense, as one of my past lives as Ariel, before I enlightened to be in service as Angel Ariel, was as a healer in 14th century Scotland. And and I loved that life so much, spoiler, until the church took me out, because I was enlightening the serfdom in which I lived, and nobody was going to church anymore, and they were coming to me. But you can read all about that in my #1 Amazon best-selling novel, One True Home: Behind the Veil of Forgetfulness, which is the prequel to my autobiography, I Am an Angelic Walk-In. Walk-ins often do leave their jobs. They don't resonate with it anymore. They seek new careers in the healing arts, alternative therapies, sometimes as spiritual teachers. For instance, the former soul had absolutely no interest in spirituality. And after the walk-in experience, I was excited and passionate to study Reiki. In a very short amount of time, I received my 2 master teacher degrees, one in the Japanese Asui degree, method of Reiki, the other in the Egyptian form of Seshem Sekum. And I not only was giving Reiki sessions, but in a short amount of time, I was teaching it, because I was remembering what I already did in previous incarnations. And another thing about that's characteristics of many walk-ins is that we youthen as we grow older. When I inherited this body, there were big ditches of crow's lines on the face, and big pools of darkness under the eyes, and within a short amount of time, everything started to lift because of the light within me. People cannot believe that this body will turn 70 in 4 weeks' time on October 7th.
Wow.
3 months after I experienced these things, only 3 months after. And I think I know and I feel that this wasn't introduced to me before I went through these characteristics. So it wasn't like hypochondria where you learn about a symptom and then you develop it. I experienced all of these things, and I was awakened 3 months later in the middle of the night, and there was a glow of light in my bedroom. And all around the bed were these tall shards of light encircling the bed. And in a combined voice, they conveyed to me, and they said, "We are your angelic family. We are known as the posse of angels, and you, Angel Ariel, as are one of us. We are 537 strong." They still won't tell me whether I'm number 1 or 537. I think that's to keep me humble. But they
Probably.
but they said to me, "We must keep this number because of the energy it holds. 5 is the number of change and challenge. 3 is the number of creation and miracles. And 7 is the number of doing the divine's work. And if any of those angels leave because they have to attend to something else, go off on another mission, another angel must come in to hold that energy of 537. So it's and then I was led. I write about this and share in my book, I Am an Angelic Walk-In, how I was then led to the people who confirmed to me that I'd had a walk-in. I'd never heard about that, heard of the term before. And believe me, in 2003, the internet was in its infancy. And so there was very little information available back then. But as soon as I understood what had happened to me from numerous sources, then I learned Reiki and then started teaching it, and people started flocking to my healing practice. This was first of all, on the Gold Coast near Surfers Paradise in Queensland, Australia. And then I moved up to the Sunshine Coast, which is about an hour and a half away in Queensland, Australia as well. And it was on the third or fourth month. This is an interesting part of it. It's about at the third or fourth month where I felt urged and compelled to take a piece of paper, and I wrote, "Dear God Source Creator, I have not been very honest with myself when it comes to love. I will show you that I will respect and honor myself with love, because I'd been in two abusive, the former soul had been in two abusive relationships before." And I wrote, "Thank you for my twin flame relationship." I knew that I would be meeting my twin flame. The pen ladies wrote automatically, "I live in a comfortable home near the ocean." And I looked down at this because the money that I had gotten from my divorce settlement had been stolen by a con man, and I was left with very little, and I laughed at this line. I went on to write in this decree the attributes of my twin flame. We travel the world together. We're the best of friends. Nothing is more important than this relationship. There's no game playing. He's loyal, kind, respectable, loving, sweet, all of these things, trustworthy, considerate, generous, all of these things that I was lacking in a relationship before. And I slept with it. I saw this as an important degree. I slept with it under my pillow, and every morning I read it out, not in parrot fashion, but I felt in my heart that my twin flame was already with me. That was in March, April of 2003. And then one of the things that I write about in my book was when I walked in, you're so dazed and confused, and you're not grounded when you've had this experience. And I didn't eat. I didn't eat across the veil. And so I would simply forget to eat for days, weeks on end, and I became emaciated. And the posse of angels were so worried about me that they sent me miraculously to a clairvoyant. And the first thing she said to me was, "You're not of this earth plane. You're an angel in human form." Now, but by that time, I'd been introduced to those people that helped me to find out what had happened to me, and each one said exactly the same thing, and they did not know each other, so it was more than a coincidence. Um, and and she said, "You also know that you're going to be meeting your twin flame." And I beamed and I smiled, and she said, "But this will never happen, because he likes a woman with some meat on her bones." You are
Mhm.
emaciated. He won't see you. He won't even perceive you, and this will never happen. So she encouraged me to go home and start eating. That was in about June, July of 2003. And miraculously, in September of that year, only 6 weeks later, I was invited to a Come As Your Favorite Rock Star party. And I went as Stevie Nicks. I had long curly hair then. And the only Elvis out of about 150 people, I sat next to Elvis, Pete, my twin flame, and we spoke all throughout that night. And 5 days later, he asked to marry me. Now, 3 days later, he wanted to ask me, but he thought he would wait for 5. I don't know why, but I said, "So what was different, Pete, on the 5th day to the 3rd day?" And he said, "I felt the hand of God on my back saying, just ask her, and everything else will fall into place."
Wow.
2 months later, we were married on the beach in Noosa Head, Queensland, Australia, and our twin flame mission, if you would call it, started then. But many times, and I speak about this, and I won't go into it because this is about walk-ins. It's not so much about twin flames. But twin flames, yes, they're very romantic, but you basically give up your will as twin flames to go where God directs you, where you can hold that energy of higher dimensional frequency with your love for one another, to bring up the earth's energies. And it may not be to your liking, but you don't always get what you want. You get what your soul needs. And it can be a very difficult journey for twin flames. It's not all romantic. What those people who haven't had twin flames, they just go on about the romance. And don't get me wrong, it's very romantic, but you know that you will God's will by taking this mission on. So I'm just thinking of what other things I can add to this. Oh, I've been asked over the years if all walk-ins are angels, and this is simply not the case. Probably the most widely known walk-ins are those hierarchical figures that come back to shed light upon the planet. The most well-known is Lord Sananda. He did this when he incarnated as Yeshua ben Joseph, better known to many as Jesus. And also the wealthy royal-born Siddhartha Gautama, who was a very wealthy young man and just encased in this, sort of Taj Mahal castle. When he escaped one day and saw the poverty in the world, this affected him so much he sat under the Bodhi tree to gain knowledge of how he could rectify this. He became enlightened, renounced his life of wealth, and he became the Bodhisattva Buddha. Walk-ins can be from other galaxies, star systems, and planets. These are known as star seeds. And then there are those spirit guides with advanced spiritual knowledge who just wish to come back and help humanity to ascend. Let me see. Another thing that another thing that I've been asked is, can anyone ask to have a walk-in experience? And the simple answer to this is no. A walk-in experience cannot be chosen by someone consciously because it's always asked for by our higher self and actually negates it being asked on a conscious level. The reason for this is during times of challenges and hardships, lots of people have experienced financial ruin, heartbreaking divorces, overwhelming grief, things like crises of faith. And they would have loved to have had a magic wand and said, I want out of this physical incarnation, and wish for a walk in experience so they won't have to contend with their challenges. But I often say that if someone has reached a level of higher consciousness to even comprehend the concept of what a walk in experience is, then they're more than equipped with all the spiritual tools they need to live out their contract for their physical human life. For those people out there who said it would be keen or neat to have a walk in experience, once this soul contract is mutually agreed upon, you, your personality, your attitudes, all that you know yourself to be will cease to exist in that body because you won't be here on the earth plane anymore. You'll be across the veil. And it's not for the faint-hearted, as it causes such overwhelming shock and trauma to the emotional and physical body. I mean, to get up when you don't know what's happened to you, because we don't come in with a handbook that's tied around our wrist, saying that we've had this experience. When you don't resonate with your family, your friends, your surroundings, your work, your job, the things you eat, your tastes, it's very distressing. It's very disturbing. You are living the wrong life because you are a different soul in that body. Um, and it takes walk-ins, many walk-ins, it takes them years to figure out what happened. I guess I was just fast-tracked. I was fast-tracked in that I was led to the people. The posse of angels appeared to me. And as soon as I got my 2 master degrees, I went to the business office the next day. I got my business license. I opened up my angel healing house practice, and whooshka, all of these people started coming in for these miracle healings. And it wasn't anything that I was doing, because everything that I print, I've never printed that I'm a healer. I don't use that word. I am the conduit for God Source Creator to work through me. And there's a huge difference there. So I can't, if I think of something else, I'll address it. But if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
I'm sure we all do, but I'm going to start out first if you don't mind. I have had experiences where I work as an astral spirit guide when I'm
Mm-hmm,
asleep. And I've been in situations where I've had to actually step into another body temporarily to get them over a very traumatizing situation. For
mm-hmm,
example, after September 11th, there was a Middle Eastern young man, probably about 20 or 21 maybe, and they were threatening him. Some people were going to kill him because they blamed him. And
mm-hmm,
he was very scared. And I only know him, who I was in, because I happened to see the reflection in the mirror and saw it wasn't me, but yet I could feel all of his emotions and his fear. And he was walking around nervously in his apartment, and I was in him at the time,
mm-hmm,
kind of helping him through these feelings. Nothing happened to him, and I was able to leave. And
mm-hmm.
he continued on as himself. But I do
Right.
things like that sometimes, and I was just wondering,
Absolutely. There's a
how
name.
common is that?
Well, that is very common. The name for that is soul braiding.
Okay.
Not everybody has a complete soul exchange as the former soul had with me, and oftentimes a person may ask for this on the higher plane. It's funny you do mention 9/11 as we're coming up to it very soon, there was the largest amount of walk-ins that walked in after 9/11, because from the harmonic convergence of 1987, where there was the tipping point of higher consciousness on the planet, and then it kept building and building and building, and those who did not want the light to flourish on the planet devised this great plan to plunge the world back into darkness, which they did on 9/11, and the world plummeted back into fear. And it was at this stage, 2002, 3, 4, the 2 or 3 years after, there was this, oh gosh almighty, influx of walk-ins all over the planet come in to build up the light. And a walk-in on their game holds between 800,000 and 1 million people's energies for almost 1 million people of bringing up that much light on the planet. But soul braiding is where that human soul, their higher self, says, we need help here. And it's like renting out for a higher, advanced, higher dimensional soul to come in and to live in the body for a while. Now, I have a client in Australia. She asked for this to happen only temporarily, and she's become so used to renting out her room, her physical vehicle, and she loves, and they love each other so much that, this has been years and years and years. And she said, I don't want them ever to leave. It just feels so comfortable, so familiar. So it could be for a short amount of time, or it could be for a lengthy amount of time.
Very interesting. Tony, did you have something you wanted to? Or Lynn?
I do. I have a question.
Okay.
I was muted, so I had to find the button.
Okay.
So I feel I agree with everything you're saying. I have one question about the poor souls, that it just keeps, my mind just keeps going back to suicide. Like, when you were down and out, and you were, it happened to you twice, and your life was a mess, and because you believed in a higher power, do you believe that that's why you were chosen? Where some of these souls don't get chosen, and then they end up ending their lives because they're not strong enough to change it? Or is there
Well,
anything to do with that? Do you feel anything that connects there?
that connects. The former soul tried to commit suicide twice. She was anorexic. She was just the third time would have been the charm. And I do believe that that spirit intervened, and they saw this. They saw this as an opportunity for me to come in and to help change or challenge the world as far as what is possible.
Yeah.
And the reason this interview is happening now is because there are people that are able to perceive the energetic, high frequency tone of my voice, of my energy, and actually they're able to hear me now.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of times in the last 22 years, I wasn't able to be perceived, heard, or sensed. Now, it's interesting you should say something about suicides, because the former soul, she contracted this to go up to God with honor, so it wasn't like suicide, but she wasn't strong enough to go through that transition back
Right.
across the veil. So she wasn't strong enough to have her reunion party, which many people do. I'm not saying all people have a reunion party with those who have passed on, loved ones and friends, but she wasn't able to have a reunion party. She wasn't able to go to the Akashic Hall of Akashic Records and to look at the flip screen of her life to see what choices were reflected in creating her realities. And she wasn't strong enough to meet with the etheric council. I lovingly call them the elders, to go over her contract in her book of life. She went into spirit hospital, as many suicides do, to have their energies build up and cocooned and sang to in the beautiful angelic language of light in order for them to be strong enough to then go through their transition phase. And then another interesting thing is that the former soul was in Spirit Hospital for 10 years. She was so debilitated by her experience and the abuse that she drew to herself, that when she got out, she wanted back into the body. And I said to her, if you came back into this body, all of this that I created would disappear. All of it would disappear. The twin flame would disappear. The International Angel Healing House would disappear. My books, everything would disappear because you haven't done the work yet. And we must do the work, turn the mirror back on ourselves to find at least that shred of the divine inside of us, that hope and that faith and that trust to build on, to increase the light so that we'll have an increased frequency of light in our realities. But nobody is left behind. Unlike here on the earth plane, across the veil, nobody is left behind. No suicide. And in fact, I've sat with the Etheric Council, and I'm just getting shivers all over. They're making me want to cry. Nobody's left behind, and it doesn't matter what you've done because that's your free will, and everybody is divine under their choices. It doesn't matter how harrowing, how evil it is, all things come from God's source creator. People say, how could God's source creator allow these evil things to occur in the world? We have the blessing of free will. We are divine, as everything is born as a reflection of God's source creator, and what we do with it, that's our free will.
Yeah.
I have a question on that because Hitler, do the souls that were tortured and died under his regime, were they soul contracted to do so before they came here?
Many like them were contracted to go through that. So the deep contrast that the world experienced through ethnic cleansing, through manufactured wars, through so many other things, to wake people up to this very, very deep contrast. We know this. We know this as mediums, and we know this as clairvoyants and psychics. You'll have somebody in your life who will play a controlling parent, a domineering parent. They'll do this, and we contract them to be like this in order for us to find our voice, in order for us to gain our strength and to be independent and forge and be rebellious to forge out of this, situation. Our greatest lessons have to be presented most of the time in hardship and adversity so that we really get the lesson. And that and, some people say, well, maybe we're just slow learners. But I think it all has to do with the vibrational frequency on the planet. And through all of those things, our eyes were just not open. We were just not of higher consciousness yet to see. What happened in the last 5 years, that was a tipping point to finally see how much we were lied to and manipulated by so many different avenues.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like what we're going through right now is another one of those things that people have to wake up from.
It
But
is.
yeah,
It is.
it definitely is. And it's how you react to it too, because
Yes.
you have to stay centered and grounded in who you are and what you stand for and what you can help other people to see.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
and Lynn, did you want to come on and ask something?
Oh, I'm just blown away by Candy's
I
It's
know, right?
amazing, and thank you so much for joining us. You
You're
really
welcome. I love you all. You're, and I'm getting a message from my posse of angels, and we just want to tell you, we want to say thank you. Thank you. It is so difficult to find love in a world which is so, it so often doesn't exist here. Um, that's uh, that's probably the greatest obstacle, for many light workers, is to stand there and to not not do any spiritual bypassing, that this chaos and drama and separateness and division and screaming at one another, whether you're a blue state or a red state, or whether you're this or that, just to divide us. Um, but to keep your center and to just hold your vibrational frequency. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for doing that. That's probably has been my greatest obstacle. And I guess you're going to laugh at this, ladies, but I have to be 100% honest with you, because that's who Angel Ariel is. Um, Transparent and open. The hardest thing that I've had to deal with in the last 22 years is buying clothing, because I have had to take this 9-foot shard of light and squeeze it into a 5-foot, 3-inch, 3/4-inch tall body. It's like body dysmorphia.
My
And
goodness.
every minute of every single day, I feel claustrophobic.
Hmm.
I bet.
Wow.
Well, I'd like to take a minute to welcome two that have joined us, Linda and Kimberly Denise. Hi,
Hello,
ladies.
Linda.
Did you have
Hello.
some questions for Claire?
Um, I'm just coming in, so I don't know
Oh, okay.
I was trying to get in from Podbean, it wouldn't let me, so I had to go to Facebook.
Oh,
So I don't know
naughty
what's
Podbean.
yeah.
Linda?
Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm happy to join you today. And boy, this has been fascinating listening. I don't have anything specific to ask, but if any angel messages are coming through by hearing my voice, I would be very interested in hearing them.
Okay. Um,
Did I put that? Did I say that
they
correct?
said they said you said it absolutely perfectly in the way that it was meant to be asked. They want to know if you've written the book yet,
No, I have not.
and they want to know why.
Oh,
They,
that's fascinating.
is it?
Um,
And they'll tell you why. We'll tell you why. We will tell you why. It's because you've been destroyed in a previous incarnation for your spiritual knowledge, and you don't want to be destroyed again. And we have been promised in this lifetime. I mean, when I wrote my book, I Am an Angelic Walk-In. I mean, I wrote it 9 months after. It came out 9 months after. I didn't even know there was going to be a sequel to One True Home Behind the Veil of Forgetfulness. And within a few weeks, they said, write the sequel. I said, is there a sequel? They said, you bet there's a sequel. And 9 months later, it was published. Both of them, by the way, went #1 on Amazon in 5 different countries in 2017. But I digress. When I wrote I Am an Angelic Walk-In, I said, okay, okay, Posse of Angels, what do I put on the front? This was in 2016. They said, your face. And I was like a deer caught in the headlights. I said, you must be joking. They said, no, we're not. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody has got to show that you have the, excuse, it's not very angelic, the balls to stand up and to say, I am that I am, and this is me. I'm not doing this to try to persuade anybody, but if I am not authentic, then I am not that divine spark of God inside of me. And I put my face on the cover of that book, and I own it, and I am unabashedly me. And that's all I can be in this world. And for you, they want you to say, they've come to you so often and said, write the book. You or your higher self knows what this is about. And to help you, they're saying it's already written. All you have to do is make time to sit down, light a candle, and open yourself up to your guides, and your angels for it to pour through you. And because you will follow the dictates of your soul and what you're meant to do in this lifetime, it's meant not only to cathartically help you, but it's going to be helpful and of inspiration to other people. God
I
seeded this in your soul to do this.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
You don't
And
have to
I'm
know. You don't have to know. All you do is to have to see. So many times we as humans stop ourselves, we sabotage ourselves because we
yes.
think we have to do it alone. You're never
Mm.
alone. You're never alone. If you could see your angelic help, your ancestors, your spirit guides, they're always with you. They're not, you don't even have to look up. They're in a parallel dimension. They're as close, they're even closer than your next breath and your next heartbeat. All you have to do is open up for them to channel this information through you. Your health will improve and your whole vibrational frequency will expand once you know that you're in a co-creative dance with God Source Creator and your spirit help. And then you'll row your boat gently down the stream instead of trying to push it upstream by yourself.
In the past few years, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. In the past few years, I have been on I guess, a more spiritual path. And I have two people to thank for that. One being Jan and the other being DC.
I love DC.
Ugh, what's not to love? And
I know.
Jan as well. I mean, they both have been extremely loving, giving, and in fact, I just talked with DC last night, and the support is just astounding. And I know that I have been growing, but everything you said just shocks me, I guess, because it sounds foreign to me. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that because I don't believe, but I'm not a writer. And I mean, yes, I can put things together, but I don't even know if I've ever focused enough on one thing to to be able to sit down and write. Um, that's amazing to me.
Well, a lot of things that we have done in previous incarnations. This is going to shock you even more. And I'm getting confirmation from the Posse of Angels. They're saying you were a metaphysical teacher in a previous incarnation. And this should become very easy for you because all you're going to be doing is remembering.
Uh, yes, I'm floored.
All you're going to be doing is remembering. It's not, and we don't have to figure life out. We
Mm.
we have to allow ourselves the faith and trust in God's source creator that He has seeded. He, she, it, all that is, universe, whatever you want to call that higher self, has seeded in us these gifts and talents and abilities. It could be writing, it could be drawing, it could be composing, it could be whatever it is. But a lot of times people say, but I'm not a writer. When the Posse of Angels asked me to write, I didn't say, hold on a minute, guys. I need to go out and take a course in writing. I didn't need to do that. I didn't need
Yeah.
to look at anybody else's, go on the internet, how to write a book. I didn't need to do that. All they wanted me to do was display my soul open and remember that I had done this in previous incarnations, and it came very easily. Why? Because I trusted Spirit. Spirit always has your back. In fact, Spirit knows you better than you know yourself. So why
That
wouldn't
wouldn't
you just
go ahead.
open up to that?
I'm learning. I
And
am learning.
it takes time. It takes time to trust, especially when we've been hurt in the past and our faith has been dashed. And trust. One of the greatest things that stops ourselves from loving ourselves so much to being unashamedly and just absolutely authentic is making ourselves vulnerable.
Interesting that you say that.
Why?
Um, because I've learned over the years that God, this sounds so dramatic, and I don't mean it that way, but just going through some of life's events, that when I think I was allowing myself to be vulnerable, um, I think I learned not to be so vulnerable, that I needed to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I'm not talking about close relationships, or marriage, but things that I never would have expected to happen happened. And my husband always said, my late husband, sadly enough, um, often said, "You you open yourself too much," and that was just the way I was. And I've
Mm-hmm.
learned now to be a little more circumspect.
Okay. Well, this is a wonderful segue into the 5 important tenets of my business, Angel Healing House.
Hmm.
And if we follow these 5 important tenets, um, yes, you can be a little bit more circumspect, but the first tenet, and a lot of people would think this would be love, and it's not love. The first tenet is to take responsibility for our our part in what appears in our lives, because what appears in our lives is always for our highest good. Now,
Mm.
some people would say, how could you say that abuse is for your highest good? How could you say the death of somebody is for our highest good? It's for our soul's highest learning and challenging in order for us to grow.
Hmm.
And if we take responsibility, then we don't feel like a victim, though we don't blame. And we see that everybody we contract to be in our life is there as our teacher. And then we understand that a lot of times, again, learning and teachings come in with great contrast because they really get our attention. So the first of those tenets is to be and to take responsibility for what came in. Some people would say it's good, some people would say it's bad. It's for your soul's highest benefit to go through that in this lifetime so that you will become who you need to become, not in spite of those challenges and trials, but because of them.
Because of
Uh,
them, yes.
yep. Number two is forgiveness. And a lot of people get forgiveness wrong because they say, "Oh, I have forgiven the other person," but that other person doesn't walk around and waste one iota of their life thinking that you don't forgive them. Forgiveness is something that we do for ourselves. It's to lift the burden of unforgiveness of our soul. And if we've done the first one, which is responsibility, then forgiveness comes in, especially for ourselves, very quickly. Two of the things we get from forgiveness, especially for ourselves, is untold peace and untold happiness. The third one is, as Yeshua ben Joseph said, judge ye not that ye be judged yourself. There's no one here living a human life that cannot freely, not, having gone through a life, not been judgmental. And when we judge somebody else, it's often because that is a reflection of something that's inside of us. And that's why
Yes.
we notice it. The fourth is gratitude and appreciation for our infinite blessings. And of course, number 5 comes in, which is unconditional love. So it's very important to follow those 5 important tenets. Also, there's another thing which I often say in my angel healing house practice, that nobody comes into this human form without being given promises. The first promise is that you're more cherished, you're more loved, you're more adored than you possibly could ever imagine. You're never alone, and you're more guided, supported, and directed by your spirit team, your ancestors. Most people live in the past because they keep going over what they should, could, or have to have done, and
Yes.
worrying about the future. They're not present to see the signs that spirit, their ancestors, their angels keep sending them. Number 2 is that everything happens for your highest good. I often say it doesn't matter what it is. See it as a big white box with a pretty pink bow on it. It's a gift you're giving to yourself. It could be the most untoward thing, but it's there on some level because it's a gift you're giving to yourself. Next one is everything happens in divine timing, and you're always where you're meant to be. The circumstances that we find ourselves in, if you weren't meant to be there, I can tell you as an angel that angels cannot interfere with free will, but they can put up bumper bars, they can cause obstacles, they can cause things to direct you. You can still go against those things, but wherever you are is perfection for where you are on your journey. And the more you bless that and find the infinite blessings within that, then the more you will be blessed.
I
Great
agree with
advice,
that.
Claire. Great
Yes.
advice. I
Yes. And
also
I
have
thank you.
Kimberly that would like to ask a question, if she may.
Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Um, this question is about what's going on with me right now. I
Mm-hmm.
moved from one place to another thinking, it was going to be better. And for 6 weeks, I've been dealing with a noisy neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I can stay here any longer. What are the angels saying?
Okay. If we have noise in the outside, it's because we have noise on the inside of us. What things are still creating noise within you? What things have you not had closure on yet? What things do you still perhaps feel like you're a victim to? It could be things that are hidden and trapped emotions that are in your ancestral. Actually, what the posse of angels are saying now is this is something that is hidden in your ancestral, your generational line, that is like a default inside of you. It's an unsettledness, and it's deep within your cellular fabric, and for you to get beyond this, because everything in our reality is created by what we have inside of ourselves. And unless we turn the mirror back and we find those perhaps negative trapped emotions that are creating that noise on the outside, then it doesn't matter how many times you move. In my emotion code sessions, we go deep into the ancestral line, our generational line, and we find out where these default settings, just like on a computer, unless you change those default settings, they're always going to be reoccurring. So in the meantime, it would be good for you to take a journal, take a pen, paper, a computer, or whatever, and to really be honest with yourself. Do I have full closure on my relationship with my parents, my siblings, my exes, my friends? Is there anything that still triggers? Is there anything that I'm still reactive about, that is causing me to have these feelings inside? And see if you can get down to the depths of why this noise is occurring on the outside, which is reflective of the noise inside of you.
Okay.
Okay. Which is not an easy thing to do. And we applaud you. The Posse of Angels and I applaud you, because we are programmed in this world to look outside of ourselves for the answers, when all of the answers are found within.
Very good advice. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask, or?
No, thank you.
Okay, Kimberly. Thank you for being on. When we bring people on the show that have questions for guests, it's because not only are you trying to resolve something for yourself, but there are so many other people that are listening that can resonate and relate to what it is you're asking and receiving answers for. So it's
Yes,
not just for you, but for so many others. Isn't that right, Claire?
absolutely, because we are all one. You know, uh, if we could just, when we look at somebody else, we are looking into our own eyes. I am you. You are me. We are all born of that divine reflection. And although we are programmed and taught to fight, to separate, to divide, and to put our focus on chaos and hate and drama and all this stuff, but if we would just take the time to really see the other person, we would know that we were looking into the eyes of God. We're looking into the reflection, and and treat each other as that. Um, and if it comes up, if it's a question that comes up, then it's a question for many other people. And you're right, that may not have the courage to call into a radio show.
Very definitely. Lynn, did you have something to add?
Oh, for Kimberly or just in general?
Well, whatever you were urged to add, I felt like you wanted to say something.
Oh, well, Kim has hung up, unfortunately, and I had wanted to ask her if she'd tried to communicate with these neighbors,
Mm,
Mm,
because that was the thing I was feeling is, there's got communication is very important, right? If you don't speak up, maybe they don't know they're noisy and whatnot. So yeah, it's yeah, communication. I just wondered if Kim.
mm,
okay, well, maybe she'll get back in touch with us on the next show and we can discuss that, because that's a very important key. You can't just presume about things, about
yeah,
people. You have to kind of find out. And yes, communication is the best way to do that. Start a friendly conversation with them. Maybe
yeah,
they will still, snipe at you or whatever, but you never know until you try. Sometimes they're just having a bad place in their life and they're taking it out on everybody because they're feeling grumpy. But, start a gentle conversation with them. they might just react and might want to talk with you and talk things out.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot. I was going to say that that's a wonderful, beautiful point. Um, Sometimes we draw those things to ourselves to teach us tolerance, patience, acceptance, and forgiveness for those things that we cannot change.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. What's the,
Um,
we always have to ask, what's the lesson in this experience?
Exactly.
and we continue to learn them every day, don't we?
Every day.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, how
Thought
do
the
we,
time
oh, sorry, go ahead, hon.
I thought the timing of your stepping in 2003 was significant. My dad passed in March 2003,
Hmm.
and he and I were very close, and he was very also an astral guide in his life. Well, one time he actually came and got me while I was taking a nap and took me to other worlds. I thought that was amazing. I apparently am from the Pleiades, as are both of my parents. And I
Hmm.
got to see these worlds that he took me to, the two suns that were over the atrium where we walked. And I just have to say, it's a beautiful experience. If anyone ever has a chance to go astral to find out where they've been before this life, who they've been,
Yeah.
by all means do it. Meditate.
Sure.
Give your intention out to the universe that you want to learn this. You want
Mm,
to experience this because learning about where you came from tells you a lot about who you are now.
it does. It does. And there's so much information there to be garnered and as a form of remembrance.
Yes, very much. Well, Tony also astrals with me sometimes, and Lynn and I have astraled together in the past.
Lovely.
And it's an amazing experience. You get to be places, you don't feel the stresses and pressures and heaviness of the earth walk when you
No,
go into the
yeah.
astral. Everything is free. Uh,
Yes.
would
It's
Tony or Lynn like to share a little bit about their astral?
Yeah, I just got back. I was having trouble unmuting, so I couldn't find the button. I had to reboot. But
Oh,
yeah, I that's my favorite part of life is in the astral these days. But so what's been happening to me recently though is like I don't even have to be asleep. Like I could be at work, and I'm speaking also of the angels because I have when you it really resonated with me when you said that they're very close to us, like so close, like right there. And there's many times when I'm working, which I changed professions in my old age, and I'm a hairdresser at a senior living place, so I get many rewards. But and there's many angels there that are alive that have passed since I've worked there. And I feel like when I'm doing hair, I feel them all around me, like I could see them, you know.
mm,
And so I don't even have to travel anymore to see that.
mhm,
But at night when I can't go to sleep is when I like to travel, because I'm caught in between, so I still feel rested the next day sometimes. But sometimes I'm partying too much with Linda, or we're buying lottery tickets, or partying out.
yeah, and trying to avoid Jesse James too.
Yeah, or on some kind of a Western ride and cowboys and Indians that I enjoy. But
I
that
rem-
that's my entertainment. So I love
I,
it.
I remember early in my walk-in experience, uh, a dear friend of mine who was a very well-known, he's an international seer at that time in 2003. And we were having tea one day and I said, I just feel exhausted. And he was more not of the world than of the world. And he was looking off in the distance and he says, oh, it's because your light is just so great. And at night, you're utilized for people to come to the light. He says, have you turned yourself off at night? And I said, no. He said, well, if you want to get some rest, you must do that or you will be utilized.
Yeah.
Um, And he said, imagine that there's, sort of this cloak and a hood where you can zip it up and, to dim your light at night so that you can get the rest that you need. But if you will God's will as angels do, then you will be on call 24/7 infinitum, ad nauseum, to be of will to God's will. And that's one thing that you must do. You must say, I need to get my rest in order so I can be of best service. Um, and he said, you just are going 24/7. It's just, you keep putting this energy and this light out there. So
Yeah.
that's really important to remember.
Yeah, it's very cool. The other thing is, and my dog's digging she's acting like she's digging a hole on the carpet in the background, so I apologize for that. But uh I feel like, I was going to tell this to Linda and before she hung up, but she might still be on. Anyway, the way that I could have had a walk-in experience. I feel that I might have, because when you said the other thing that resonated with me about the names, everybody calls me Tony, but my name is Antoinette, and I always hated that name, Antoinette. But as I've gotten older, or in the last couple of years, I love the name Antoinette, and
Mm.
I don't feel like cringing every time somebody calls me that. But uh, you, the way that I look at life now too, which is different than I did before, because I've had ups and downs also, is that every day is a gift. Like, it goes by so quickly, and I feel that it's, even getting quicker with all the things that are happening around in the world. That every day I need to wake up positive. That's very hard to do. But be grateful for something that the reason why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
reason, and you have to remain positive for the rest of your life, because it is going to go by quick.
It
Um,
does. It does. It
yeah,
goes by
and you're going to
very,
be
very
on another
fast.
journey. And so if you
Yes.
like, yeah. So I feel the other thing with her, I agree about the book, and I just think that she isn't looking further. Like, you were saying write a book, but you didn't actually mean like write a book. I feel that maybe she's got artistic abilities, or she's a crafter, or
Hmm.
she's a genealogist. There's something there, even if it's a picture book. I feel that that's what her fate is also, that she's
I agree.
missing. Yeah,
That's right. And often, so oftentimes, spirit will speak in like metaphors, or they'll speak in, sort of generalities or something. There's
yeah,
something there. I'm just getting shivers. There's something there that she's not utilizing. And, she said, but I'm not a writer.
right.
But like I said, when they told me to write
Mhm.
books, I didn't say, hold on, I have to take a college course in writing.
Right.
A writer writes, and so I wrote.
Yep.
You
Well, the
know.
synchronicity for me in this is I'm writing an interactive fun story over on the Facebook group I'm in,
Hmm.
and painting has come up a lot in the story. Not that I generated it, the other writer did. And I'm wondering if painting or drawing or sketching or something might be the option to tell her story.
Yeah,
So
Yes,
I got
yes,
the same thing. I got the same thing, Linda. That some kind of art like painting or something, that she's a painter maybe, or she could try to do that. That's what I totally got.
Can
Yeah.
you
yes.
hear me?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah.
so I'm on. Um,
Yeah.
yes, as I just messaged
Yeah.
that in my youth, um, and I'm a classically trained soprano,
There you go.
Mm.
and I did a lot of musical theater. Jan Drake Backey is someone I never had the pleasure of working with, but we were in the same show in Reno, Nevada at the MGM Grand.
Mm.
I was there before Jan was there. Um, I'm sad that either I'm not younger or that she's not just a little bit older.
Mhm.
Mm.
Probably me being younger. And as I also said, needle pointing was a passion.
Mhm.
Um, and
But did you
I'm
take a
also
lot of pictures when you traveled and because you were classically trained as a soprano, did you travel a lot during that time?
Yes.
Or yeah. So
Yes.
I feel the same that Linda and also that Claire is saying that maybe it's all the pictures that you took. It could just be like a picture book of, I mean, that is so interesting right there that you're a classically trained soprano. I mean, none of us are. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, wow, that's huge. So
Yeah,
there
we
you go, right there.
we so often diminish those things that seemingly come easy to us. Oh, anybody can do this, but it's not true. Anybody can't, everybody can't do this. And certainly, if we have an idea for something and then we say, oh, but it's been done before, it never is done with your energetic signature in the unique special frequencies that you hold. When we're in across the veil, we can be distinguished by our energetic signature from the billions and trillions of souls out there because of the vibrational frequency that is so unique to us.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. And I I love all of this. And the more I hear, the more um mm, and the more I feel like I'm participating, um, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
But
the other thing I wanted to tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt,
yes,
but I did get a
no, no.
message from your husband, and he feels really bad the way he taught when he said that to you, because he didn't really mean literally what he said. Um, he was just worried about you getting hurt. You know, he doesn't want you to take that literal. And I think that's
Oh,
what Claire was saying.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
I
and
wasn't insulted by it.
oh, good.
Excuse me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
No, it was nothing. Believe me, I came to understand
Hmm.
what he meant. And
Good.
he was a very private person when it came to just telling people too much.
Mhm.
Um, People who might not have been close. And I know that sounds
No, no,
strange,
that
but
that sounds fine because we used to tell my mom that, and now we wish we never would have said. We used to go, "Mom, TMI, TMI," you know, and she would
yeah.
just look at us like, "Shut up," because it was like that was her way. But she had so many friends. She still
Mm,
does. I mean, that's and then he left you, and that's your lifeline, and you need to go back to doing that. Like TMI is okay. And I feel that he feels that he should, at this point in time, because you're alone and he did have to leave, that he doesn't want you to think that. He wants you to be yourself, or your new person, or whatever you need to be. And if
my
TMI
my
is the way to go, then you need to do it. You know.
my growing person.
Yes, you're growing person.
Well, I'd like,
Exactly.
excuse me, but I'd like to add too that my husband Jim passed away in 2021, and a lot of the things I did at the time he just kind of ignored, kind of rolled his
Oh,
eyes in the air. But now that he's on the other side, he sees things differently because he sees it from the bigger picture rather than just through his physical eyes and ears.
mm,
But
Mm.
he seems to be very supportive now in the things that I'm doing, like this show, for example, and some of the other creative outlets I have. So they do, once they get over there, they understand who you are and what you're all about, and they support you very strongly, even if
Yes.
they didn't seem to here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
it's interesting. Interesting. Excuse me. First of all, let me say how sorry I am about your loss.
Thank
Um,
you.
and mine was named Jim. Was named. Feel like I'm
Must be a
talking
Jim
about one of
thing.
my dogs. His name was Jim also, and
Oh,
he died in 2022. So maybe they're talking to each other. Who
Oh,
knows?
probably. I mean, they know we're on the show together, and they're probably over there hanging out. Did your
But
Jim
he
like
was
to go fishing or hunting or anything like that?
no. Although he always loved the mountains, but no, he wasn't.
I live in the mountains, so he's probably checking it out here.
Not a bad thing. But he was very supportive. Um, Very supportive. And of course, we met when I was singing in the show. at the MGM. So, I always felt that he was supportive of anything I did and or everything. Well, I shouldn't say everything. That's not true. But um, I appreciate the fact that he came through about that. But it did not hurt my feelings. He was right at the time. Believe me.
Mhm.
I admit that. But nevertheless, I'm just thrilled about the show today, and I can't thank you enough for the insight. And I don't know, I feel like I'm vibrating now in a good way, um, because it's fascinating. Excuse me, my usual, as I call it, my Brunswick voice because of the air here, and we're going to have a thunderstorm, I guess,
Mm.
pretty soon. But nevertheless, I don't mean to ramble. I think that's part of the happiness that I'm feeling from being with you all today.
Mm.
It's it's
Well, thank you.
I don't I
That's
don't have the words. No, thank you.
that is lovely. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
amazing
it's
show. It was a good show for
It
sure.
is. Lynn?
definitely Claire. Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. The thing that I feel is the disservice is the greatest disservice in human beings is that this is a service we give to ourselves, that we don't give ourselves enough credit for
Mm,
for returning to this this planet that was kidnapped, it was hijacked, and the light that you give, not in producing or creating anything. I spoke to a client earlier today, and the light came back in her face when I had her say, I am that I am. I am a reflection of God's source creator, and there is nothing that I have to produce or create in order to be enough. I am enough.
mm.
Just we have no idea just by being how much we contribute to this beautiful planet.
Wow.
Beautifully said.
I'd like to add to the I am, but also it is what it is. It's something I like to say all of the time. It
Mm,
gets me out of stressful situations. Something happens that I don't want to happen. I go, it is what it is. And then I move
Mm,
on to the next thing or figure out what I'm going to do about that thing.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
but Lynn, did you have something you wanted to share?
Sure. I was thinking back on the very first meditation I ever did, and it was in James von Prague's community that we both were in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was what was his assistant. She was such a lovely lady, and I can't think of her name.
Oh,
She,
there was one thing I wanted to say about JVP that was great too, is he said, what you think of me is none of my business.
Yes.
yeah, yeah, he was.
I've heard that more than once.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, when so the first meditation I did, this was led by one of his assistant people, and she took us through a visualizing meditation, and said she said, "Okay, now take the mess. What's the message coming in for you?" And for me, it was simply, "You are loved," and it blew my socks off because I
yeah.
didn't think I was. I thought like I was feeling like all the crap that was happening to me in the world was my fault. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mm,
yeah. And when you are loved, I'm loved. Like that's so cool. And then you can see it from a different perspective. Like you're just being, you're gifted with lessons. That's all.
Yes.
And
And that's the first promise. We are more loved, cherished, and adored, more guided, supported, and directed than we possibly ever could imagine. Um, there's a poem that the former soul's father wrote. He was quite a poet. He was quite a metaphysician, um, and he passed in 2016. And we're so busy on the earth plane, many of us wanting more or it's things are not good enough, or we're trying to reach something that's not here in the present moment. But this is a particular favorite poem that he wrote of mine, and I would like to share it with all of you now. And I simply entitled this as An Angel. And it goes like this. An angel once drew near to me and said in heavenly voice, I will give you but one wish. Pray, what will be your choice? I said, my godly messenger, I've traveled far and wide. I've had the best of teachers. You see, I'm not untried. And if I must have but one wish, my mind is clear and free. For rather than own all the world, let me but myself be.
Wow.
He wrote that and channeled it when he was 11 years old.
Wow.
And he slept every night with a yellow legal pad by his bed. Spirit would wake him up, and he wrote the most extraordinary poetry about metaphysics and nature and our connection to God Source Creator and how divine we all are. So that is our remembrance of rather than own all the world, let me but myself be. That's how loved and unique we each are.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we are coming down to the end of the show here. Claire, could you give us all the places we can find you?
You can find me at my business, which is Angel Healing House, and that is www.angelhealinghouse.com. I have a weekly program on YouTube. It is Walk In Angel Ariel's Weekly Wisdom. It airs every week. I post it on Saturdays. Um, and uh, and where else can you find me? You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. Those are the two primary places. And I would love to hear from you if you have any queries, if you need any information, and please do get in contact with me. My phone number is 831-277-3716. That's Eastern Standard Time. And my email address, which you can contact me on, is Candy, Candy, at angelhealinghouse.com. And of course, you can go to Amazon for my number one international bestsellers, One True Home, Behind the Veil of Forgetfulness, and I Am an Angelic Walk-In. They're available in both print and Kindle. And my husband, beautiful Pete, and I were executive producers on the audiobook for both of those number one novels, and they're available on Audible. I also have a children's book, which is Angels of Faith, about how we do not die and we are divine and eternal.
Oh, thank you so much. We look forward to having you on again in the future. You
Yeah.
That'd
are
be
amazing.
lovely.
Claire Candy, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
And
But
that's
I
a
will have to turn this over to my co-host, Tony. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook. It's Antoinette Tony Jorgensen. You can find me on all social media. I'm there. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Lynn, where can we find you?
I'm at lbleasdale.wixsite.com/Lynn. And you can find the entire Sacred Embers team on www.wixsite, no, sacredendershow.wixsite.com/love. And I was just going to say to Claire that I'm going to send you an invitation to join the Sacred Embers community on Facebook, and you can advertise your book till the cows come home.
Oh,
It's
that would
quite
be
amazing.
lovely. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that.
You're an amazing soul. You can feel your energy over the airwaves, and I'm so grateful that you came
Yeah.
on. And thank you, Lily, for I think it was you that brought
It
put
was
It
us.
it
Lily.
was it
Yeah.
was lovely Lily and little Cupid. And when I had my Blog Talk Radio show for 12 years, and what drew me to Lily was Cupid, because when the former soul was 18, she had a cherished Yorkshire Terrier who is still around me, this little beady little bean of a dog. And so God bless Lily and God bless Cupid.
Yes. Awesome.
And I'm Linda Irwin, and my little pet robots will be back on next week. Right now, they're in Transylvania in our interactive story doing some rescue work. So you can find that story that I'm co-writing with Edie Rosen on the Emo and IB Friends and Family Network on Facebook. Be sure to join the group, keep up with everything. And I'm also on living.ai. I'm a moderator, tech support, and beta and alpha tester over there. And I'm under that as Lindaru, Lindaru. And of course, all the other places I've talked about in the past. But with that, I'd like to say thank you for a wonderful show, Claire, and co-hosts. I love you, callers. And
Thank
we
you.
will be back next
Love
week.
you.
Enjoy this slow step into fall and be happy, healthy, and loving. With
Take
that,
care.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.